Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to a special episode of Fantasy Focus, brought to you by the Three Frosted Mugs, a Fiad Group entertainment production. And a big thank you to AJ Studios for the graphics and post-production work, as always. I'm Rodney. Here with me are Chad.
Steven, how are you?
Hello, Chad. Doing well. And Conway.
Howdy, Steven.
Hey, Conway. And Matt, our producer, is here as well.
Didn't forget me this time.
I won't, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
I won't ever forget you. And what's the show about today? Fantasy Focus. It's a special episode that we're going to bring to you weekly, basically centering on fantasy, players that we think you should keep on your watch list, some sleepers, perhaps some players that are considered pretty popular, but maybe you're going to be bust. And of course, with this particular episode, we're going to be discussing draft strategy and some players that you might want to keep on your watch list for your draft.
And also, what you're not touching on is the big news. We got our own little fantasy thing on our website.
That is right.
Pick3Plus.
That is right.
Tell them a little bit about it, Chad.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fantasy game. It's called Pick3Plus. What you're going to do is you're going to compete for weekly prizes. Mm-hmm. At the end of each week, all the winners at the end of the season of each week are going to be put in a prize pool, mm-hmm. and then they're going to play for a final prize. How it works is each week you're going to pick 3 quarterbacks, you're going to pick 3 running backs, and you're going to pick 3 offensive teams, as well as you're going to pick, the game that goes over the highest total.
The highest scoring game, right? Total.
Exactly. So that's basically how it's going to work. You can find it under 3frostedmugs.com. I don't want to go into the whole rules and tell you about points and all that. Go on there and check it out. It'll be basically like fantasy points. But if you want to know more about it, just go ahead and check it out on 3frostedmugs.com.
And actually, just not to correct you, I believe that the 3 teams you pick, it's idea of defense, right? Not
okay.
So the defensive aspect.
Did I say offensive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the defensive aspect, and then there will be weekly prizes as well, not just that one big prize, but there will be some weekly prizes for the winners.
Correct.
Also,
you're offensive. This is one of the weekly prizes, by the way.
What is
nice 3 frosted mug.
A pretty sweet 3 frosted mugs.
3 frosted mugs, frosted mugs.
I mean, look at this guy. You'll see how this can work later
it's not actually
on in the second segment.
But
it will be on the second part of the show today.
Correct.
And we filled up. I think we got Bud Light Platinum.
I think that's what it is. Oh, by the way, I had to bring it because I lost the bet that we had the last episode where I was supposed to beat a 108. But I did not do that. I've lost every single bet.
But he did beat. It was 91. That
he did. He did. Don't know how, but he did.
93. Something.
Before we dive into the fantasy thing, we talked about we was going to play golf, and if he would break 100, we went to play at the Medal of Honor golf course in Quantico. Mm-hmm. Looked pretty nice. But I think, what did you end up shooting?
We just said a 109.
Where you been at?
Where are you?
Just say?
What book are you in?
We talked about the whole thing.
Yeah.
He just said why he has to bring in the beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he didn't break 108.
Yeah, but you didn't dive into it. What did you shoot?
I shot a 109. I said it.
Oh. So I put a really good number there.
You did.
Yours up in the air.
Either that or it's a great representation.
You had a lot of gimmies.
It's a great representation of my life where I almost make it each time.
You were right there.
Almost 5.66, 109. Anyway, all right, let's move into the fantasy football. That's what we're here about right now. You can check out our other show for all of the goofy stories.
Where do we want to start? I mean, there's so many things to talk about. Where should we start?
Draft Peyton Manning. No matter what you're doing, draft Peyton Manning.
No matter if it's 4 points or 6 points.
Yeah.
Which, actually, I want to talk about that real quick because I have been toying with the idea of getting the number 1 pick, which wouldn't anyone want that. The number 1 pick. Who would I go with there? I know Peyton Manning's the straight answer right there, but you do have Rodgers, you do have Breeze.
Well, see, it all depends on, again, what kind of league you're in. If you're in where quarterbacks get either 4 points or 6 points, and then I'm in some leagues where you get 1 point every 50 yards, 1 point every 25 yards for quarterbacks. Then is it PPR? Is it not PPR? But to keep it simple, I think, obviously Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, those are going to be your top 3 quarterbacks. But it's kind of hard to go away, if it's especially a PPR league, like a Jamal Charles, a Sean McCoy, Matt Forte, guys like that.
Well, I think you're touching on the very first thing that we should talk about. Know your league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Other than knowing that there's 10 people in your league or 12, know your league. Know if it's a PPR. Know how many points you're getting for quarterbacks.
How you're drafting as well. Are you doing a snake? Are you doing linear? Because that's going to make a difference.
And of course, when you look in the books and they break down, ranking them this way or that way. Find out how many quarterbacks you're playing.
Yeah.
What's your starting lineup supposed to look like?
Exactly. How many? Can you use a quarterback as a flex? Is it a 2 quarterback option?
Are you playing 2 defenses? I don't know. People get crazy nowadays.
A lot of questions out there before you even go into your draft, just to find out how you need to prepare for your draft.
You need to be Scottsdale ready.
He
has notes from his drafting in 2001.
And he looks at them every year.
Yeah.
He won't go to any family events after March because he's straight studying for fantasy football.
Pretty much.
He's just come out of hiding. But yeah, so if you have the first pick, PPR league, and if it's everything pretty much standard, if it's quarterback, 1 for every 25 yards, running back, 1 every 10, I think it's got to be a LaShawn McCoy or Jamal Charles.
For your number 1 pick right there?
Yeah.
So
Unless it's
back?
a lot of bonuses heavy with quarterback, but, then obviously Peyton Manning. But,
So let me ask you this real quick because you were talking about scoring. So 6 points for passing touchdowns enhances quarterback value, right?
Exactly.
Does that right there make you go, okay, I have the number 1 through 3 pick, either one of those? You still going running back there? Like you still going for the LaShawn McCoy, for the...
Well, yeah, because in my opinion, there's only about 5 running backs out there that are going to, 5 to 7 running backs that are going to carry the bulk of the load. Mm-hmm. With so many teams now going 2-back system and you're trying to keep running backs fresh, after those, if you don't get one of those top 3, 4, 5 running backs, you want to wait till later in the draft. Go quarterback, wide receiver, in my opinion.
Okay.
Well, that's where you win fantasy football, too. It's not from your first round draft pick.
Yeah.
Who are you picking up in the 3rd to the 5th round?
Exactly.
Are you picking up one of those gems that's going to help your team, or is it somebody, like you said, in a 2-back system where you're going to take that chance and maybe they're not getting the carries inside the goal line?
Exactly.
Like the McFadden and Maurice Jones-Drew situation. It's which back are you going to draft there?
Well, then you're talking about, and you can't predict this. You got Frank Gore's, 30, 31? Mm-hmm. How much of the workload's he getting early on?
Right.
Is he going to stay healthy? Arian Foster, is he going to stay healthy? What do you want to do in situations like that?
Well, now, even LaShawn McCoy, does his situation get questioned a little bit more with the addition of Darren Sproles?
They'll probably run them together a lot. He's still LaShawn McCoy is going to get a heavy workload.
And I guess as many plays as they'll run in a game, it probably won't touch on it.
Now, Sproles is in deeper leagues, maybe somebody to look at, maybe post 6th, 7th, somewhere around there, 8th, 9th round, especially in a PPR league. Mm-hmm. He does a lot of his damage, catching the ball. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's not a guy that you're going to go after early and target.
There's my question for y'all. Does a lot of people still do the non-PPR leagues?
I'm in a league. Matter of fact, one of the bigger leagues that I'm in is non-PPR league, and I've been trying to get him to do PPR.
Explain it to me. A wide receiver's job is to catch passes. Shouldn't he get
Why wouldn't
points
there be
for
a
that?
benefit for that? Yeah.
At least, because some running back, you don't get a yard, I guess you could say a point per rush, but every 5 rushes you may get a point. Or every 10 rushes you may get a point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't understand the whole non-PPR thing, but there are a lot of leagues out there that do it. All right, so let me ask you. The top 5, top 4 quarterbacks are out, all right? Mm-hmm. No Peyton Manning, no Drew Brees, no Aaron Rodgers, no Tom Brady. Where are you going right now?
And we're in the 1st round?
Well, no, it's just you need a quarterback. You're going quarterback, and those quarterbacks are not available.
Well, to me, Andrew Luck is probably the top of the next tier. But who I'm really looking at this year is I would take a chance and try to draft Jay Cutler late.
Yeah.
Jay Cutler, I think, is going to put
late?
up top 5. Well, it depends on how many people's in your league. If you're in a 12-man league where quarterbacks are premium, and you can play 2 quarterbacks in some of those leagues, you might have to pick them up early. You have to. I'm big for drafting what's best available, but once you get past certain quarterbacks after that 10, do you really want to end up with Matt Schwab or Matt,
And by early, you probably mean because, you still want to get that top-tier receiver, or running back. But by early, you're talking probably 3rd, 4th round early,
right,
as far as for a Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jay Cutler, in a league where that's 6 points quarterbacks with 12 people, he could easily jump off the board in the 2nd, 3rd round.
He's got weapons.
Well, that's the thing. How do you avoid, you're in a 12-man league and it's, quarterback's value or greater because it's 6 points per passing touchdown. I mean, how do you deal with that? Because what if everyone on the first round is just going quarterback heavy? I mean,
then you have to adjust to what's going on. Like I'm in a league, where everything starts going. Like last year, I think I was the 10th pick, and it was a 12-person league, and everybody went pretty much running back except for one person in front of me. So there, I'm like, I tried to change. I wanted to go, top wide receiver, but I had to get a running back. I mean, I didn't want to be stuck with a I guess 20th ranked running back if I had to wait, till the second, third round.
Yeah.
So you also kind of want to adjust, to how the draft is going.
See, and I propose in a 12-man league, you got to figure your top quarterbacks, top 5, like you said, 4 or 5 is going to be gone. Top 4 or 5 running backs are going to be gone.
Yep.
Steal Jimmy Graham right there, 11th, 12th pick.
So you think late first round?
I think he will make a big difference when it comes to tight ends.
PPR league.
Yeah,
Well,
of course.
Basically, you're getting a
PPR,
wide receiver, like a top-notch wide receiver.
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a stout pick.
Well,
It's a really good pick.
I have done numerous mock drafts this season, and I have sat and written out numerous ways of drafting as far as, if you're in the first position, the 6th position, the 12th position, and then where you end up drafting your next picks, for example. I have personally found it's probably better to be somewhere between that 9th and 11th pick as opposed to the 1st or 12th, because if you think about it, you get your 10th pick, and then you get the 15th pick right after that.
As opposed to having to pick and then then wait 18 picks.
Yeah, but even having 12th, you get 12th and then you get 13th pick. But then after your 13th pick, you don't get to pick again until like your 36th, I think.
I hate being right in the middle.
Oh yeah.
I've come to the conclusion it doesn't matter where I draft, my first round draft pick is going to get hurt.
Wait, what?
Probably.
What is this experience you're talking about?
I mean, it's every year's experience. It's either a first round get injured or a first round bust.
You did have Aaron Rodgers get injured last year, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. And I had Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
That's
see
what
much.
he did.
It appears as though he might again.
If I put myself in the position, the question I asked you earlier about you going quarterback in the top 3 or 4 off the board, I like the Jay Cutler pick. I might have to go Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, you're talking about just adding more weapons. They got good running backs who catch the ball.
Him and Romo's always going to put up fantasy numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all they're going to do.
Right.
Didn't they draft
Eric Ebron,
yeah.
tight end from North
That's
Carolina. Yeah, he's a rookie again. You don't know. Now, that's saying. Let me. I'll tell you this, and I'll ask you: is a quarterback to stay away from this year? And I said this even before the preseason started: is Eli Manning. I mean, yeah, he hasn't done anything in the preseason. Don't like Eli Manning at all. Stay away. Matt Shaw, stay away. I mean, maybe as a backup, and you waited late to pick your backup. It's late in the draft. Okay, that may be fine. Those guys definitely aren't worthy of being a starting quarterback on your team if you want to win.
Well,
speaking of now we in the past couple days found out that Sam Bradford is Dunsky. The ACL issue.
Don't sleep on Sean Hill.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
yeah,
Do you
be
think
wide
he's a late
awake
round?
when you're watching him throw interception after interception. Don't sleep on it. Be wide awake.
Hey, Sean Hill has decent numbers.
Hey, he's got a decent running game behind him.
Sean Hill, I'm telling you. Now, I'm not saying to go get him to be your starting quarterback in fantasy.
No, but you could pick him
But
up.
don't sleep on Sean Hill as far as he may have a good season. He's going to be on the waiver wire, so don't draft him unless you're one of those guys who, well, if it's a 2-quarterback league where you can start 2 quarterbacks, if you want to get him late to be your 3rd quarterback to throw in the mix, that's probably not bad if you wait till one of your last picks. But don't do anything in a hurry to go pick up Sean Hill. But they do have some fast weapons out there. He may be able to do so. He's not going to do a lot, but he may do a little something.
Sean Hill, just to boost your confidence a little bit, if this was week 4 or week 5 and Sam Bradford went down, you would definitely be number 1 on the waiver wire probably.
Absolutely.
100%.
Especially comes in and, throws
when
a touchdown
when
or
a
two.
quarterback comes on the waiver wire, it's like everyone goes crazy.
And how here's the thing is
a quarterback.
backup quarterbacks in the NFL get disrespected so much. The first thing everybody talked about when Sam Bradford went down, who are they on the phone with? Who are they trying to get? You got a backup quarterback for a reason.
Yeah.
Use him to go in there and take over if your quarterback gets hurt.
Yeah,
But yet they
exactly.
always want to talk about, oh my God, he's gone. Who are we going to call and get? Oh, you got one on the roster.
And Mark Sanchez said no.
Mark Sanchez. Hey, this is preseason. Mark Sanchez is horrible. Mark, if you want to come on the
go
show,
hang out with Sean Hill. Him and Sean Hill are boys.
we are. We used to play golf together.
I mean, Sean Hill looked like he had, I don't know, he just looked like he drank a bottle of Jack to me. Like he's got like a 5 o'clock shadow. And he looks like the equivalent of Mel Gibson from Lethal Weapon to me. Like, he'll jump off of a building, but it hasn't worked out in years.
Yeah. All right, now let's say, now you want a running back, and Peterson, McCoy, Charles, Lacey, and Forte are off the board. Where are you going? 'Cause that's probably the top 5, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Roughly.
Where are you going, Steven?
Well, I mean,
I
Giovanni
did-
Bernard always sticks out in my mind, but not until later on, I would think.
Did
I
leave
mean,
out a name. Marshawn Lynch.
Oh yeah. That's a big name. Yeah, I mean Giovanni Bernard always sticks on in my mind. Rashad Jennings is someone that I've been keeping my eye on just because. I mean, who else do they really have at running back in New York?
I got the young kid Andre Williams, Boston College. But
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, man. Like it's always like once you
What
get
about
past
DeMarco
those that you
Murray?
just said.
I can tell you where I'm going. Yeah, because we're going to run the ball. We always say we are. I can tell you
DeMarco
exactly where I'm
Murray
going.
might have the best stats for a running back in the first quarter every week.
Well,
Because they do like to run the ball in the first quarter.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he averaged like 5 yards to carry last year, I think.
Did you say Alfred Morris? Did you already say Alfred
No,
Morris?
I was getting ready to say Andre
Yeah.
Ellington.
Andre Ellington, yeah.
I mean, I think this kid's going to be a stud.
He's Cardinals, right?
Yeah. I mean, everybody's saying it, so it's not like that's one, a big, deep sleeper name that you can go out and look for, but that's a guy I like to have a big year.
I think for me, like just from what I've been looking at, obviously there are those top tier 1 through 5 running backs, but there are still a few guys, a handful of guys that if you get them in a good value, they can help your team out a lot.
Yep.
Like Andre Ellington.
Exactly.
What
Yeah.
about Doug Martin?
He fell off my radar as soon as I picked him up number 1 last year.
Tampa Bay just scares me. I mean, just
Well, yeah, what's McCown going to do? Is he going to be the McCown of last
McCown
year?
is going to be sitting on the bench by week 3, so my boy Glennon, can come
Big
back in.
Bird's
there
going to come in?
I mean, he didn't even get a real shot at being the starter. I mean, he came in and said McCown's starting.
Hey, that's the breaks, kid. You come in there and do that, and you got a whole new regime. I mean,
I'd take him.
It also depends on when Incognito comes in there and how many players he psychologically demolishes on the team.
well, I don't think anybody else would be that soft. I mean, I don't think he's. I don't think he did anything really too abnormal as far as what goes on. Some people just take it a different way. But yeah, I mean, he is kind of a.
What about Colin
Would
Kaepernick?
Toby in a 10-man league, let's just say 10-man, even a 12-man league, maybe in a 12-man, where would Toby Gerhart get drafted?
8th round.
You think he'll get picked up in a 10-man league?
Toby. I mean, yeah, he's their starting running back, right?
He's
Maybe not even that late. I mean, it may be 6th round, maybe.
What team is Garrett? What team is
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
Okay.
I mean, he's starting running backs, though. I mean, starting running backs do have value.
And what about guys like Decker that you're not really talking about that much?
I got Decker off. Stay off. Do not touch Eric Decker.
You don't have no
Is
trust
that
in
simply
Geno?
because of who's
No, it's not really so much that. I don't have any trust in Eric Decker.
really?
I mean, all you have to do really is run your exact route when you're Peyton Manning your quarterback, and you turn around, the ball's going to be there.
You know what I
You don't
call-
have that luxury with Geno Smith.
That's true. Geno Smith, you're going to be stretching out in the middle. Thinking about, my career may end if I
Yeah.
catch this post pattern.
Yeah, Peyton Manning's not going to do that to you. He may have did it to Welker, but
So all right, so real quick, we were talking about quarterbacks and running backs. Again, I'd like to recap top 3 quarterbacks, top 3 running backs that are on your list of who you'd want to pick up, and then the other end of that spectrum again.
But
all right, top 3 quarterbacks.
don't go with the top 3 that you know.
no,
You know,
just yours.
Oh,
Your
you
thought.
Your top 3 after those top 4.
All right, Matt Stafford.
Okay.
Like Matt Stafford a lot. Andrew Luck. You mentioned Andrew Luck. Like him. And then I'll throw in a name that you don't hear a lot of people talking about, but you did before last year, is Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
He kind of, everybody all of a sudden just said, they were
Julio's
terrible
healthy.
last year.
Julio,
they're going to
Roddy.
be tough, man. So those are the 3, not maybe the top 3, but I like those guys. How about you?
Oh yeah, your top 3.
Luck, Cutler, Romo.
I was going to say it. I didn't pull the trigger.
I mean,
but
it's
yeah.
I'll sit here and complain about Romo. It's not about fantasy football, about winning games. He's going to put up fantasy numbers. They're going to abandon the run, and I mean he will probably have at least 6-7 games that he's going to have over 40-45 attempts.
Okay.
That's just him. I mean, their defense is going to let up a lot of points. He's going to have to throw the ball down the field, and he could be in the top 5. And don't sleep on Nick Foles. I mean, it's
All right. Now all right, top running backs other than the top 5.
Do you want to go to the other end of the
Do
spectrum?
we want to do that?
Do you
I
want to
wasn't
take a break
sure.
and then come back and then go into?
Well, this is
bottom
how I
half?
was wrapping up this segment. Then
Oh,
we could
yeah.
go into the wide receivers and tight ends and things in the next
do your
segment.
thing.
So let me hear your duds, quarterback duds. Give me 3.
Quarterback duds.
Yeah, the ones to stay away from.
McNown.
McCown?
Sorry.
Both those guys.
McNown or McCown. Stay away from them.
Geno Smith.
All right.
Or anybody else that's going to take snaps for the Jets.
No, Gino. Okay.
And I think anybody that's playing quarterback in Cleveland right now. I mean,
All
I mean, Manziel should be there for long, but I honestly think that Shanahan is going to make a mess out of things like he did in Washington, and I think that when it comes down to the offensive side of the ball, he's not a very good play caller.
Okay. All right. Chad, your duds.
Eli Manning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've bashed him so much on this show.
Poor
I think
Eli.
every show
Poor
I just
Eli.
bash
And you love
poor,
his
he got
brother
2
so
rings.
much.
Poor Eli, I know. Matt Schaub, stay away. I mean, I beat this guy in the ground too with Geno Smith.
Hey.
But to give you, I guess another name, I don't, want to keep beating him in the ground. I mean, I hate to say this too, but until he shows something, they got weapons everywhere. But Robert Griffin.
Okay.
I mean, not early. You don't pick him up early. He's not the Robert Griffin of 2 years ago. And now he probably will, because he's athletic. He's a good quarterback. But until he shows that, stay away for right now.
Okay. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and then we will come back and just give our quick top 3 running backs, and then our dud running backs, and then we'll move on with a couple more positions and
Dud
thoughts on
running
there.
backs.
I like that word, dud. All right, great.
Was that word dud ever used before fantasy football? You didn't hear it that much.
Yeah, like for explosions, explosives, like it's a dud. You never heard of that?
Snakes.
No, I did hear that, but did you walk around and use that word?
Well, it was
as much
rare
as
that I came across many
Right.
explosives as I was.
I think that stick of dynamite is a dud.
Oh my gosh! All right, we'll be right back. Stick with us. Welcome back for our second and final segment of Fantasy Focus, brought to you by the 3 Frosted Mugs. We were talking about quarterbacks and running backs in the last segment, and Conway and Chad gave their 3 top picks for a quarterback and their 3 dud picks for a quarterback that you should stay away from. Now I'd like to know about your running back picks. Let's start with you, Chad. Can you give me your top 3 running backs other than the top 5 that we all know and love?
Yeah, I mean, other than LaShawn McCoy, Jamal Charles, Adrian Peterson, Matt Forte, Eddie Lacy in there,
And Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, I've talked about this every show. Andre Ellington. I mean,
You love Andre Ellington.
I'm telling you, Clemson, Dreads. I mean, like Sammy Watkins. I mean, both of them like them. I hate to say this too. Skip Harris, if you're listening, turn the volume down. Alfred Morris. Like Alfred Morris, I think. I mean, he's going to run tough this year. A lot of that depends on RG3, what he does, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm going to go right to my boy, DeMarco Murray, too. If Dallas runs the ball, like what he does there, I mean, averages 5 yards a carry, feed him the ball. So, though, outside of my top, the tops that we, listed, those are my tops. Conway?
I like Bernard.
Yep.
Giovanni Bernard from the Bengals?
Yes.
Okay. I just like to
That is
clarify.
him.
Some people don't know.
Well, I like how you clarify. I mean, by the way, your intros and outros are excellent.
Thank you.
I mean, they're very well said,
I practice them.
well groomed. I mean, it's almost as well groomed as your beard.
He sits there in front of the mirror with a mug. Thanks for coming back to Fiat Entertainment.
Welcome to Fantasy Focus.
I practice my smiles and
Artie Lang used to do that before he went to the bar. He'd practice. He'd sit in front of the mirror and practice ordering Jack and Cokes. What a dummy.
I mean, I'm gonna go with. I guess Doug Martin, just because they're gonna have to run the ball. I mean, Lovie Smith likes to run the ball. I mean, they're gonna pound the ball.
Why are they gonna have to run it though?
Because they have no one to throw it, unless they put Glennon in.
they have to throw it. I think you said to throw too, because I was going to say they have Vincent Jackson, they have Mike Evans, which is a rookie as well. But
And I'm going out on the limb to say, because this is it for him. I mean, if he doesn't do something this year, I mean, that's it. To me, this is make it or break it year for him. Trent Richardson.
Yeah.
who now resides in Indianapolis as of last season.
And I think it's going to be a break year. He's on my don't touch list.
Yeah,
So he's one of your
He'll be a
duds?
risk. Yeah, I mean, he'll be a risk, but
But yeah, that's a second tier guy. I mean, if you can find him late, there's nothing wrong with pitting him up. Having him as your maybe third running back, possibly.
Okay, so that was one of your duds. What are the other two?
And, I mean, this guy going from way up here last year to where everybody, pre-draft thought to down here, C.J. Spiller.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he shows something this year, C.J., I mean, come on, give it up. Ray Rice. I mean, I had him on my team last year. Doo-doo.
He is doo-doo.
I don't, yeah.
It's an official term.
And where's his head at this year? Is his head 100% on football? I mean, with all the stuff going on, answering the questions, every week about the same stuff.
It should be, but no, probably not.
Yeah, so
his head and the rest of the body should be in county lockup somewhere. That's where he should be.
Exactly. Well, he got 2 games now. That's fair.
Yeah, it's the same as
And then the
Brandon
NFL
Merriweather.
felt so dumb they had to revamp the whole policy of this women beating thing. Maybe we should clamp down on the women beaters.
Yeah.
You think so?
Let's go back and before. But and this guy right here, I was on the fence about him. I mean, we had said something earlier, but because of his age, and they do got a stud behind him, a stud rookie, Frank Gore.
You think Carlos Hyde's going to give him a little run for his money?
Well, Carlos Hyde is going to get a lot of carries.
Yeah.
Frank Gore's, he's 31. He's old for a back. 30 or 31. He's old for a back.
And he's not an evasive back either. He's like a run right into you type of back, so he probably has a lot of wear and tear.
And San Francisco's got a good line, so they're going to try to run it. So I think Carlos Hyde, he's going to have a good year.
So, but stay away from Frank Gore probably for at least an early round pick.
Yeah, at least the early round pick. But it's hard. I mean, again, it's hard to pass up on them. But I'm just saying, over 30-year-old backs, I don't like them.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Reed?
Well, my busts are going to be Zach Stacy. I mean, I think he has a stud behind him. It's going to take away carries. And to me, a bust has to be somebody that's going to be one of those top tier guys, that you draft them.
Your high expectations.
Right. Yeah. Second is Arian Foster.
Nah, I agree with you.
And even though this could go one way or the other, I mean, and this is the reason I said about the stud or whatever, the Doug Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Doug Martin is one of those ones that could go either which way. So I'm putting him on both of my lists.
I was thinking,
but he's going on both of my lists just because, I mean, I would be scared to death to draft him, but it could turn around and he has a big season. But he could be a complete dud.
So you're saying probably somewhere you would wait 3rd, 4th round?
There's certain guys when you walk into the draft that you should have in your mind, no matter what, if they're best available and you have that gut feeling that you don't know which way they're going to go, stay away. That's my advice.
Yeah.
Stay away. If you have those guys that you think might have the upside, go ahead and draft them. But those guys that could go either way, for the year that, just for a plain example, you remember when Ryan Matthews came out and he was a rookie, and they had him ranked as top 5 running back?
No.
Well, he came out, was a rookie, all fantasy magazines, ESPN, this person had him ranked at top 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, when it came to me, he was the best available for every ranking, and it was kind of a drop-off after him. So I drafted him. And I don't think
He shattered his collarbone or something?
Yeah. Has he ever scored 2 touchdowns in one game since his career started? I really don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I don't follow him that much. But what I'm trying to say is, and the rookies are always scared. They're a scary draft pick, and you're going to have to take a chance on them. But you don't want to waste an early draft pick by taking someone like a Trey Mason that's going to be there late. Mm-hmm. But you got to think that other people's going to have that type of strategy.
But behind them, all they have 2nd-year Mike James and then Bobby Rainey. So it's not like they're real deep at running back. Bobby Rainey, he didn't. I mean, he had 150 attempts, 600 yards, 5 touchdowns. Not as bad, but I mean, they don't have a really good back behind them. I don't think that's going to push them.
Well, I just think backs are harder to come by anyhow now. I mean, of course, everybody knows that just because the NFL is changing to a 2-back system.
Yeah.
It's to me, you need that kind of 2. You don't
Is that
have
because of the number and frequency of plays they're trying to run nowadays, like the speed, the no huddle offenses, things like that?
Well, yeah, I think the speed of the game is caught up, so you don't have in the NFL, you don't have people lining up in the I formation with a fullback pounding the ball. You don't have the Emmitt Smith days anymore, the John Riggin days, where you have that one premier running back, and he carries the ball 35, 40 times a game.
And it's health now, too.
Right.
Yeah, you want to save your guys for later on in the season. And
everybody's gotten bigger, faster, stronger, especially on the defensive side. You have defensive ends that that are running the same type of 40s as running backs, but they're bigger and stronger than them. You know, it's
real quick. Have you seen the fullback for the 49ers who used to be a defensive tackle? Tuiaforku or something? Will Tuiaforku? He's like 6'4", 245 pounds. He's a giant of a man. It's literally taking a defensive lineman and making him a
You
fullback.
need to look and see what his 40 time is.
I don't think he had to run one. They were probably like, you don't have to run this. Not at all. Okay, well, let's move into some wide receivers that we want to keep on our radar here. Obviously, there's always Calvin Johnson. That's always the one that's brought up in those late first rounders if you don't have the
So we'll
studs.
stay away from, like, when we go to say who we like, as far as wide receivers, no Calvin Johnson, Demaryius Thomas, Des Bryant, A.J. Green, Brandon Marshall, Julio Jones. Wouldn't you say that's probably the top 6?
yeah.
Those are the guys you're going for if they're available.
You're not going to draft any wide receivers before them.
Yeah.
No.
So who do you like after those guys mentioned?
I got so many wide receivers I like. I mean, it's just certain situations. I like Alshon Jeffrey, Antonio Brown. I think Roddy White might be set up for a decent season this year.
If he's healthy, yeah, definitely.
I mean, Jeremy Maclin.
What was I reading? I was reading a couple years ago when they had a healthy Julio Jones and Roddy White. Roddy had, what was it? Some games where he didn't score a single touchdown, and some game, a good frequency of games. I mean, it was, Julio Jones was that first option.
Well, yeah, Julio was definitely the first option in the air game there.
But I will want to say this, since we're talking about wide receivers, I brought it up with him. Here is my number one waiver wire pickup of the week after week 1.
Okay.
Because he's going to have a great first game. He might even score 2 touchdowns. That's what I'm going on the record to say.
You're on the record.
Cole Beasley from the Dallas Cowboys.
This is true. He mentioned this before.
Cole Beasley, like him, huh?
Now, he could be one of those pickups like last year, one of those receivers come up, like the Patrick Creightons of the world and stuff like that.
Ogletree.
Right.
Yeah.
Ogletree. They
Do
have
you
those
remember
huge
how Kevin
games.
freaked out for Ogletree?
Yeah.
That first game?
But they're going to work the ball to him a lot, I think.
Yeah, it's not a bad. So that's your guys?
That is, Cole Beasley's not one of my guys. I'm just throwing that out there. But to me, other than those big guys, I mean, I'd be excited to have, I hate to say it, Deshaun Jackson, just for the big play capabilities.
I think that's all he's going to give you, though. I think he's more of a 4 catches, 70 yards and a touchdown, or he could be a 1 catch, 20 yards. That's it. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be your 9 catches, 123 and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. But he has the capability of being 5 receptions, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. So I think with him, it's like a lot of receivers. But like Antonio Brown's going to get a lot of receptions. But
are you going to? Would you like to draft just everything that happened with Wes Welker now? And he's had his 75th concussion.
Yeah,
him. Or the rookie from Buffalo, Sammy Watkins. Who now? If it came down to those two, who are you drafting?
I'll take Sammy Watkins
over Wes Welker.
Yeah, it's just too many weapons. I mean, too many. I mean, there's just a lot of weapons in Denver. I mean, he's just got options.
Hey, don't sleep on Dwayne Bowe this year either.
Isn't he suspended a couple games or one game?
Is he suspended?
One game,
Yeah,
but that's it.
Substance abuse, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. I think him and Matt Prater were hanging out together. And
what about Emmanuel Sanders? Because isn't he he's one of the wide receivers
that's
now
a good
over
pick
at Denver,
too.
right?
You'd probably get him at for decent value.
Would he be good just to have? Because he would probably fill that slot position if Welker ends up getting hurt again later on in the season. Am I right about that?
They run their guys. Welker's predominantly in the slot, but they move guys around so much. It's hard to tell where anybody's going to be at. I mean, they got so many different formations, plays out of that. So,
right. Percy Harvin.
He'll have a migraine week 2, and he'll miss 8 games. So
how many?
And then he'll come back and mess up his hip.
How many people were sitting waiting for Percy Harvin last season to just hit the waivers and be healthy?
Nothing. And
absolutely no reward. None. Thanks a lot, Percy.
Well, I'll tell you who I like after the top 6 guys. Michael Floyd. A lot of people are talking about him to have a breakout year. I like Carson Palmer to have a good year. That's why I kind of like I like Larry Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd. You know what? I'm a Cardinals fan.
It's every year with the Cardinals. What is this? I mean, you love boring teams. I mean, like Wisconsin and stuff like that.
They're not going to be boring this year, though. It's the different
And
Cardinals.
you know what you're going to get out of Carson Palmer? What you got out of him last year and the year before that.
4,400 yards and about 30 touchdowns.
Why don't you go move to
And
Phoenix?
a big fat loser.
Go move to Phoenix.
Hey, this is fantasy football. I don't care about them winning or losing,
Get
man.
some $60
like we
lower
said about
level
Tony
tickets.
Romo. I want numbers. I'm not in
I
fantasy
need to be
football.
focused on fantasy.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
I was in the real life for a second.
And here's
I'm
two
sorry.
other guys that I think is going to have a real good year. Cordero Patterson, especially if your league does any kind of return yardage, like Cordero Patterson a lot, and Torrey Smith. Like Torrey Smith, even though he's kind of like a Deshaun Jackson guy, he's not going to. It's tough to see him getting those 8, 9, 10 receptions a game.
Yeah.
But he's got that boomer bust mentality. Because Flacco's not scared to just wing it and throw it up. He'll close his eyes and throw it.
Well, most leagues you're starting, 3 wide receivers?
Yeah, or 2 in a flex, roughly.
Yeah. I mean, if Torrey Smith is your third receiver, second receiver, that's
Not bad.
that's pretty tough.
Yeah,
Actually,
find good value in those guys.
Just a little side question here regarding the flex position. Is there a set position in your mind that you put in that position? Is there, do you always go quarterback? Do you go
A lot of
your best
flexes,
player?
won't let you put in a quarterback. Traditional leagues are only one quarterback, and then flex is either, running back, wide receiver, or wide receiver, tight end. So predominantly, if it's a PPR league, you're thinking wide receiver in one, running back in the other. Again, it all depends on what league you're in. But you definitely, unless you got 2 stud tight, unless you got like a Vernon Davis and Jimmy Graham on your team, then you wouldn't even think about putting a tight end as your flex.
Right. You pull the 12th and 13th position, right?
Yeah.
What about tight ends?
You want to talk about receivers we don't like first?
Yeah, I want to hear your duds.
My receiving duds.
All right, my receiver does. We touched on one already. Eric Decker. Stay away. Eric Decker. Got Geno Smith throwing him the ball. I'm not going to say anything else because we didn't beat up on Geno Smith enough. Victor Cruz. Stay away. Not going to get into the Eli Manning bashing.
I hate Eli Manning. I hate Eli Manning.
That's going to be the shirt I wear next week. Is I hate Eli Manning and I love Tiger Woods. It's going to have the same thing. After that, Andre Johnson. Stay away. Got nobody throwing him the ball. I don't think he really wants to play this year. He's 31, 32 years old. Stay away. And when I say stay away, I don't mean if they're not there late, don't pick them up. When I say stay away, don't put a lot of value in in early rounds.
My people to stay away from, Vincent Jackson situation.
I like that.
I liked Andre Johnson, staying away from him as well, and staying away from anybody in New York. I think Crabtree. Stay away from Michael Crabtree.
Yeah. Well, they got Stevie Johnson might be a sleeper there, and isn't he San Francisco?
Yeah. And to me I don't know, Kaepernick just... everything he's doing is just going downhill to me. I mean, I had him on my fantasy team all last year, and I wanted to just...
It's not looking good.
And for the record, I have them missing the playoffs this year. Just going to throw that out there.
Oh, wow.
And Larry Fitzgerald.
You stay away from
I
Larry
have no
Fitzgerald.
trust in his Arizona Cardinals with Carson Palmer.
How dare you talk about my Cardinals like that?
I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's been looking pretty good in the preseason. I mean, he's looking healthy. He's made some nice catches.
Nothing about him.
He's going to have a
To me,
solid
is
year.
when I look at the receivers, I look at the scheme and the people throwing them the ball. Okay? With them, they're not going to be behind a lot because they're going to be playing pretty good defense. So it's not going to be one of those things where you're at Cleveland and you're down by 3 touchdowns and you have to throw the ball a lot and you get a bunch of scrub points at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona's going to be in games, but they're going to be losing games by 7 or 10 points. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
I got to win in the division, by the way. That's my sleeper
because you
team.
love them.
I do. I don't know why.
All right, let's move into tight ends here.
All right. Tight ends.
Is that how you lead? Is it? Let's move into tight ends.
Yeah, that's how I
I'm
roll.
done.
That's
You
how I
talk
roll.
about
Just follow suit. Let's go. Tight ends, I got Jimmy Graham, George Thomas, Cross Clay. Let's go. Done.
So Jimmy Graham, one you mentioned there.
Jimmy Graham obviously is going to be your number 1 tight end. Julius Thomas, he's going to be up there. But some guys down the list to look at. Greg Olson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no weapons. I mean, you have a rookie that they're leaning on heavily in Carolina and Kelvin Benjamin. So there's nobody. Tyquan Underwood.
Hey, Kyle Rudolph.
You love Kyle Rudolph. I mean, anybody, he just loves North Turner.
Yeah, I was going
I
to say
did.
that's directly related to North Turner.
It is.
Yeah, like Kyle Rudolph. I had him on here as well. But a guy to look at, I like, there's 2 guys that probably aren't on the radar a lot. Jared Cook, St. Louis. Again, don't sleep on Sean Hill, so he's going to get the ball. He's going to move it around. And Charles Clay.
He's going to move it around.
Charles Clay down in Miami. I think Miami's going to have a decent team. I think I actually have them in the playoffs, but I have them being a good team. But Charles Clay, decent season last year. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to have a really good season this year.
Isn't their offensive coordinator from Philadelphia? I think. Am I right about this?
Down there?
Yeah, down in Miami. I'm pretty sure.
You mean that? Well, yeah, because they don't need one in Philadelphia. They have Chip Kelly.
No,
So
I
they
think he was with Philadelphia last season and came down
That's
there
because
this
Chip
season.
Kelly said, I don't want a coordinator. Go ahead.
Hey, I think Greg Olson's another one who's going to put up some numbers on that second tier, but I'm big on Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I hate them. I'm glad we finally disagree.
You know who I would stay away from this year?
Who?
Witten.
No,
Kinda
Jason
like
Witten.
I just don't think Witten's going to make it through the whole year.
He's got some age on him.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the
Old in the tooth.
So who is
last
it? Gavin
remaining-
Escobar? Is he Dallas's number 2
Yeah.
tight end? So he may be, somebody to keep an eye on the waiver wires.
Hey, and after last year, I love Kobe Flinner.
Kobe Flynn.
Is it
That's
Flinner or
Colts. Fleener.
Fleener.
I don't know.
Sorry, I have
To
no
me,
idea.
it's Kobe Flinner.
Kobe or Colby?
Let me ask you a situational question
Both.
here.
Yeah. Both
Jimmy
of them.
Graham's gone, and you need a tight end. Do you go Gronkowski or do you go Thomas? You go Orange Julius or you go Gronk?
Well, what about? Vernon Davis has to be in the mix there too. So, but I mean, if
I
Gronk's
think-
healthy, I mean,
I think those three are on the tier of their. I think Jimmy Graham, is on a tier of his own.
yeah.
And then the next
Then those
three.
two.
So he's worth.
So then Vernon Davis is at the top of that third tier.
Okay.
So you guys, so Jimmy Graham is worth a late. I mean, if you have to, in deeper leagues, a late first round pick,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it wouldn't be it'd be a viable pick.
I think when it comes down to what you'll get out of him compared to what you're gonna, he's going to be miles above everyone else if he
Yep.
stays healthy.
I agree. And one thing he's not going to do is dunk over the goalpost again. I think that cost him a couple thousand. But he's not hurting for money.
I think
so.
it cost him $30,000.
But I
Yeah,
got
it
a couple
did.
guys to
It
stay
did.
away from. Is a lot of people talking about this guy's going to have a good season, but the Rivera kid down in Oakland,
Mariano Rivera.
his
thought he
actually
was
his
coming back to
third
football.
cousin twice removed.
Michael Rivera.
Yeah, Michael with a Y and
Yeah.
Y. Antonio Gates. I mean, I know he's got some age. I don't even know if he's gonna a lot in the playbook. I mean,
I'm definitely taking that guy before Gates. I'm taking what's the tight end there over top of him?
I don't know.
Ladarius Green.
He's
I
probably.
would go Ladarius Green
Yeah.
before I went him.
I agree
Because
with
again,
that.
I think Antonio Gates is 43 years old starting this season.
Yeah, somewhere close.
And just to check, just to talk about kickers, do you draft them anywhere else besides your last pick?
No,
Mm-mm.
no chance.
Mm-mm.
Or and don't put a lot of stock in defenses. Defense should be your second to last pick or third to last pick. I mean, there's not unless there's some league that you're in that's dumb that has a lot of scoring for defense that's just outrageous.
1 point per tackle.
Yeah, something stupid. I mean, defenses, you're not going to get a lot of value in defenses. Go late. Kickers and defenses late, or don't even draft one. Just leave that spot empty.
So really nothing to say other than just pick them second to last and last.
If there's 16 rounds, 15 and 16.
Well, because you probably file them in a lot anyway. One defense doesn't do well, you move on to the next.
One fantasy tip that I'm going to throw out there, because I think we're about out of time, is don't get freaked out when someone takes Jimmy Graham in the first round and think you need to start grabbing a tight end in the second round, early second round, because the value's not there. They picked up Jimmy Graham. Don't freak out and take maybe Gronkowski if you really want to do that. But to me, Jimmy Graham is that only position player that sets apart than everybody else in his field. There's no wide receiver, quarterback, or running back that's so far above everyone else than he is at that position. But his position value, hey, if you're in a 10, 12-man league and all those guys are gone,
Jump on them.
I might jump on him before Calvin Johnson.
Jimmy Graham should have hired you to argue
That's
his
tough.
salary issue with the Saints.
I did. I helped him.
Well,
It didn't work.
didn't do
No.
a good job at all.
That's what happened. That was the problem.
Awesome. All right, well, guys, really enjoyed talking some fantasy football with you. And again,
real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Sure.
I want to reiterate the Pick3Plus.
oh yeah,
Find it at 3frostedmugs.com. Again, you go on there. You play for weekly prizes. Weekly winners will be put in I guess, put in a pool, and the total will be, there'll be a final winner as well. You pick 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 3 defensive teams. Go on there. You'll see the rules on the website, 3frostedmugs.com. I'm not going to get into it deep here, but you can find everything you need to know on the website.
Win yourself a mug.
Oh, and the game of the day. Don't forget that, too. That's one of the other picks.
Yep.
Game of the day, game of the week, rather. Top total scoring game of the week. So you guessed that. And then there is a tiebreaker as well, I believe, where you have to put in a point total.
Yep.
But you can check that all out. That's www.3frostedmugs.com.
World Wide Web.
Hey, we got some drafts this weekend, so our fantasy special, we'll talk about the draft, see how everybody did.
We're going to have our weekly fantasy special for you, so you can kind of take a look at that and kind of help you guide you through that first week of waiver wires and on. And
keep up with the injury updates and stuff like that.
Yeah, everything we know when we're actually putting this show down. Absolutely. All right, is that all of what we wanted to say for fantasy football today?
I think that's it.
I hate Eli Manning. I just want to Eli Manning and Geno Smith.
And he loves the Cardinals. He's a huge Cardinals fan. So Bruce Arians, this is your guy over here. All right, well, great. Well, again, I'm Rodney here with Chad and Conway. We're the 3 Frosted Mugs bringing you Fantasy Focus, which, we will do weekly. And, of course, we would love you to send in any questions, any thoughts or opinions that you have on players, teams, and games that are coming up. And you can send that to us on our Facebook page.
Or tweet us.
We are at 3 Frosted Mugs on Twitter, and that is frosted without the O or the E. No vowels. So take a look at that. Again,
we ain't got no vowels.
Again, thank you for joining us today. And please check out our Pick 3. And we want to say thank you again to AJ Studios for the post-production and graphics work. Thanks, Matt, for being in here today and running the equipment.
Thanks, Matt.
And
thanks, B.
Good luck in your fantasy drafts. I almost said final fantasy drafts. Good luck in your fantasy drafts, and may all of your parlay dreams come true.